Hello, everyone, and welcome to ATL Falcons UK. This is episode 67 now, and as you may notice, our production value has gone up a little bit, slowly but surely, up a little bit. We are not the finished product yet, but we've been working with a network called the Full 10 Yards, so we are trying to progress a little bit, as well as the production value. You may notice, which way do I have to point? Shit, that way. There's a logo change. Can't get it
The
right.
thing in the
There is a
middle that
logo
looks like a
change.
bird.
Exactly. So we just thought we'd modernise a little bit, new logo, and alongside the release of the new logo, we are going to run some giveaways and bits like that over the coming few days. So if you keep an eye on our socials, we will be doing things like that. As you will notice, Cal is absent today, therefore we have been joined by Chapman, who is down there. I can point that way. Who will be sharing his takes with us, and of course Mark and Liam, as always, as our co-hosts. Let's start with the nitty gritty first. How are we feeling about last weekend's performance, boys? I know it's a loss, but it wasn't substantial in my eyes.
I was a bit gutted. However, I think we've made some really mediocre quarterbacks this season look good. Tom Brady, and I think that this week we unfortunately made a good quarterback look okay. I think I know Justin Herbert didn't have his main weapons, and I get that, but I think he's still for me one of the best quarterbacks in the league, best young quarterbacks in the league, should I say? And I again, we took it close, right? And it's kind of becoming glaringly obvious that if you rely on field goals, and you're going to get burnt, and we're just not we're not there yet. I think we've had we've had a better start than any of us thought. I really can't be down on it, and I don't know if maybe that's just kind of the realization kicking in that actually we're in a bin fire division, and may the worst team win, because that is kind of how it feels right now. But look, we didn't get blow out. It wasn't an embarrassing performance. We know our limitations, and I think that's just how we have to take it game by game now.
Yeah. Liam, do you want to add on that one?
Yeah, I mean, a similar sort of to Mark. I think it was a bit of a disappointing loss, kind of the way it goes in terms of the ending and things. But we came up against a good quarterback. It was interesting that it was two sort of banged up teams, both sides of the ball. Obviously, we had people sort of mainly missing on defense. They had people missing on defense and mainly on the offense. I don't want to bring it to the quarterback or anything at this point, but obviously there was one thing that stood out to me was obviously they had basically no receivers in terms of the main targets. They had a lot of backup guys that no one's ever heard of, and a lot of those guys performed because Herbert found them. Basically, that was they just ran sort of nothing special, but he found them with his accuracy and his arm strength. We kind of had the opposite situation where we had the receivers available to us if we count Pitts and London as the main sort of two.
Yeah.
Our guy didn't find them. So it sort of shows that just because you have the weapons at receiver, it doesn't automatically make it a lot easier for the quarterback to deliver. Because Herbert delivered with bad guys, we couldn't deliver with good guys. I know obviously we're more of a running team and everything, but it shows that when you need it, you've got to make those big plays, and that's what your receivers are for. And I don't believe that Pitts and London and etc. were not making the runs and not getting open, because those guys will get open because of the ability that they've got. So it's got to be another issue there. I'm not going to say just Mariota, because there's obviously other things going on with like the defensive line, and we could have like he's going out of the pocket, and you've got there's other, and the scheme itself just obviously heavily focused on a run. Because I don't know how I'd be interested to hear other people's views, but I don't know how many of Mariota's runs do we think are sort of planned, and how many is he improvising, or is he going too early because he knows that's his strength and not actually even bothering making second and third read? He's just looking for one read it's not there and run, which is what he'll have done obviously in college and what all college quarterbacks still do now. And is he still got that in his head that if it's one read and run and not doing what a quarterback should do and scanning the field?
Yeah.
Interesting to hear other people's sort of views on that. So I'm not picking on him from his ability perspective, but maybe that's he's got a
No, don't worry, I'll come to that in a little bit for you.
I'll jump in here, guys, and thanks so much for having me on episode 67, the Drew Dahlman episode. No, I'm joking.
Nice.
And when you were saying I'm down here, I thought you were talking about London, and I was like, yeah, I'm down here. Always making fun. Anyway, you know what? I took a couple things away from the game. I mean, I think the number one takeaway is for me is, you know, we're still making mistakes of a team that doesn't know quite how to win, or maybe we don't have quite the facility to win. But you know, the big one of the big plays that sticks out to me is that Drake London play. And again, I don't fault, you know, it's a rookie mistake, and it was like Khalil Mack is one of the best premier defenders and he saw an opportunity and took it. And I think 9 times out of 10 now, Drake, that doesn't happen. Drake protects the ball, he falls down, doesn't try to go, but he learned a lesson there. But you know, that's points right there that may have either tied or probably won the game in my view. The other thing is, you know, despite being down Mike Williams, who's all world, and Keenan Allen, you know, we kept the Chargers to 20 points. And, you know, you want to see more pressure on that quarterback, because there was a lot of times where I was screaming because Herbert was back in the back, you know, he had like 5 to 10 seconds to pass every time. And then he would just hit Austin Eckler in the flat and we wouldn't cover him and he'd go for 20 yards. But, you know, I think that's a win. And then, you know, and if the offense, to your point, Mark, was performing in the way that it needs to perform, we win this game. And we're just not there yet. And we're just not that team. And that sucks. But, you know, we're going to probably be like this. It feels like we're inconsistent. We're one good game, one bad game. We're one good game, one bad game. And until we start to string good games together, and, you know, we didn't deserve to win last week and we won, really, to be honest with you. Yeah. And then we probably deserve to win this week and we lost. So it's hard. And, you know, that's sort of my takeaway on things right now.
So I think that kind of sums it up, right? And this is kind of where we can't. And it was hard, right? Because we almost kind of sort of went on a run, and we were kind of like, can we blag the shit out of this? Can we do it? Like, you know, like, is it possible that everyone else is going to be so shit that we can just ram the ball down people's necks for the next 9 games? Now, don't get me wrong. I think we will continue to do that. But I think that you know, you're absolutely right. You know, as bad as I think the defense has been in some games this season, in a lot of games this season. Yes, we held them to 20 points. Again, I kind of wonder, is that because the Chargers didn't have the weapons? Is it kind of because the Chargers are also a bit shit this season? However, we see it week in, week out. Right, and I'm gonna go with a little bit of a different tack this week, because I don't want to sound like a broken record, right? But we are in the position, and we will continue to be in this position now, because the defense really, in my view, is very, very limited of how it can impact a game right now. And we, as a team, are way ahead of schedule. You know, remember all of the Atlanta Falcons worst team in the NFL, worst roster in the NFL, and they're only going to get 2 wins and all that shit, right? So already 100% better than people thought we were going to be, right? But I seen a tweet earlier on, and I need to share this with everybody, right? Because this, to me, is where I draw the conclusion of either the offense clicks and we make a game of it, or the offense doesn't click and we lose. And I just want to read this out, right? So this was, I believe the original source information came from The Athletic. This season, Marcus Mariota is 6 for 30, 6 for 30 on balls that travel over 20 plus air yards. He is 4 for 20 on passes of 25 plus air yards. and he is 1 for 14, 1-4, on passes of 30 yards plus. So, I mean, I'm no mathematician, right? But when you need that big yardage, and yes, he's done it sometimes, and yes, do you know what it is? Sometimes it's won us the game.
Yeah.
But in them kind of percentages of the amount of throws that he is hitting, we haven't got a cat in hell's chance. Now, I am not going to bitch on this guy anymore because I'm bored of it, right? And if people can't see the fact that he is a bang average, at best backup NFL quarterback, I don't know what to say to anybody anymore. But he's keeping us in games for the most part with a pretty shit roster. The locker room seems to love him. I'm sure he's not a bad guy, right?
Oh,
but he's
no.
not the guy. And that's where the limitation lies. And I'm happy for any of you guys to disagree with me. But I see the rest of the season now as we're either going to be in a shootout or we're going to get fucked in the arse. And that is the only kind of two eventualities that I can see in games for the rest of the season. And I'm here for it. That's fine. We're a lot more fun than we used to be. But, it's not good for the blood pressure.
I don't think anyone really is in that much of a position to argue with what you've just said. You're literally stating statistics. It's not an eye test. It's not a public opinion. You've stated statistics. No, if any other team were given them statistics for the quarterback, they'd be disappointed. But for some reason, we're expected to be semi-satisfied because Mariota's meant to be the bridge. Yeah, but the bridge doesn't have to be shit. Like we could still try Ridder.
The bridge doesn't need to be made out of digestive biscuits.
It does not. It does not. Exactly.
So right, I've got a question, and I'm gonna aim it at Mads, right? So, is there any other franchise in the NFL that wouldn't have dropped Mariota right now?
I think who would wait. I think the way you're asking that question is: is there any other franchise right now that would take Mariota as their starter?
No. So just say, for example, right, any other franchise in this league who had so let's just assume we're in hypothetical land.
Yeah.
They took the punt on Mariota, and Mariota had given them exactly what he's given us. Is there any other team that wouldn't have dropped him by now? Because
I don't. That's a hard question to ask. I mean, I don't think I'm quite as in the same place as you are on Mariota, only because I know he's not the long-term answer, and I'm okay with this year going whatever way it goes. Mm-hmm. So if we do have a chance, I also credit him. It's been a very frustrating watch, but I also credit him with the idea that we are more exciting because of some of what he brings to the table. So, and to go back to your original point, yes, it seems like the only thing that's really open for him right now is these really low percentage, long passes, these 20 plus, 25, 30 passes, because the intermediate passing game is just not there and it's not working. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that changes with Ridder, not because Ridder might not have the talent to hit him, but I just don't know if we have the personnel right now to run that intermediate game because of who we have. I thought we would have with Pitts. I thought you would have, Drake, going down. You've got Olamide burning things up, and then sort of even using Pitts more in the slot, sort of get to be that Julio. Remember when Julio, when it was 30-8, everybody in the world knew it was going to Julio. It was 3rd and 10, whatever it was, and he would automatic first down almost always, and that we had that for 10 years. It's just surprising that Pitts is not that, and I would even think Drake might have a little bit of that in because he's bigger than most guys, and that was sort of the thinking, get it up. But there seems to be, I think we now 9 games in to get to the point is there seems to be something I think that's on both the receivers and on Mariota in terms of this passing game not working. I don't think it's completely on him because we've seen Mariota also hit, Bird for 75 yards. Like, it's not like he can't do this. And some people were saying that, there's just some miscommunication at certain points with them that is not. And Mariota takes all, and to his credit, in the post game interviews and everything, he blames it all on himself. He takes all the blame like a good quarterback would. And I know that probably doesn't get him a lot of points in your book, Mark, but
Nope.
I think I don't know. To answer your question, I don't have an answer. Let me think about it for a few minutes while you guys chat and see if I can come up with a team that might have dropped him.
Okay, good. So Liam,
The Raiders.
while Martin Pander's on that, right? So, because I was interested in something he said, so I'm sure he'll come back to it after he has a little ponder. But I'm interested. So, do you think that that we're not set up for Ridder? Because I'll be honest, we don't really seem very well set up for Mariota. So I don't.
I think we are set up for Mariota because I think we have days where we're scoring 34, 38. We're inconsistent because we're an inconsistent team, and that's both on the offense, defense, and everybody. Because I would say that from what I understand, and again, this is just from listening to podcasts like you guys and reading and everything, is like Ridder is got a lot of potential, but perhaps allowing him to sit longer and come in at a later point is the game plan that they have, because they are not under pressure winning this way. So why? And again, I know I guess you just have to trust what Arthur Smith and that coaching staff has come up with to do. I do think there's going to be a day, and again, if we have some poor performance, especially in the next 3 weeks, where we have opponents that we may be favored or at least should be close games and beatable, where if he doesn't perform, then I think you have a real. I just don't think they've gotten there yet, and I think that's fine. We're 4-4, we're 4-5. We're not, and as you said, we're 2 games ahead of where we were picked to be. So
yeah,
I don't know. Sorry, I've talked a lot.
That's okay.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think we got it's a case of the record is obviously the key there is if if we had lost 3 of those games that we won, we'd probably be in a position where Ridder would be just because even if Mariota played exactly the same way, but we just happened to lose those games, we probably would have switched just because we've been always in position and we've got nothing to I feel like the results that we sort of pulled out of the bag have kept his position, and I think he's doing the job that we expect him to with his legs. Like his runs, he still look like he's got that speed, and he can beat people and get those sort of short yards to move. But the issues obviously with his throwing that everybody's sort of concerned about, which I understand. I think from the sort of your question about would other teams switch. I think the reason why a lot of people are sort of saying that is not really just because of Mariota himself, but obviously because of Ridder is the person who's behind him. It's a rookie we've not seen. We drafted him in the 3rd round. Everybody sort of wants to see what he can do because he's got some potential and stuff like that. That's probably driving it a little bit more than maybe other teams would have. I can't see if the Cardinals, obviously Kyle Murray's had a few questions about him, he's still doing absolutely fine, but they're not gonna throw in Trace McSorley or whatever into that, no matter how sort of bad he gets, and Brett Ripien and whatever. Obviously, Russell Wilson carries a lot more of a reputation for being good than Mariota does. He's been pretty dire by his standard, but they know that they've got Brett Ripien behind him, who we all know is not really a real person. So you're not going to bring him in because there's nobody's excited about the backup.
Got a defense.
Well, they've got a defense, yeah, but that's kind of not. Mariota can't really do anything about that, and we can't. If our defense was carrying us through all the games, and we won even more than we had, it still doesn't make Mariota any better. But it's a case of we're set up for Mariota, and if we were to bring Ridder in now, they're very similar in terms of the way that they actually. Obviously, not in ability, we don't really know, but in terms of the way they approach the game and their style of quarterback, they're actually pretty similar. I just said this at the start in the preseason show, like when they were doing the way they always do the NFL draft player likenesses to someone who's currently in the league. The person that they picked out for Desmond Ridder was Marcus Mariota. So that's kind of says that
I'm not sure whether to be excited or whether to be terrified.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with his college play and that, and so I think it was meant to be a compliment. Hey,
listen, I remember how excited Mariota was in college. I mean, he's still a person of legend in Oregon.
I was at the Rose Bowl where he beat Jameis Winston, the FSU, to go on to the national championship. And I swear, if you had seen Jameis Winston play that day, you would have thought he'd never played quarterback his entire life. It was one of the weirdest games. It was his last college game, and Mariota looked amazing. Hey, one thing that is lost in all this quarterback talk is that we drafted I believe it was a 4th round running back named Tyler Algier, who had 99 yards on 10 carries. Was averaging 9.9 yards a click yesterday, and is looking like a freaking stud, and looks like he can block. Hopefully, he can start catching a little bit more. But I know Huntley has been awesome too. But I'm very excited about us finding a value pick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's good. And I need a running back jersey for once in my entire life in the Falcons since Michael Turner. So, no against the CP, but
Listen, I think that's an absolutely brilliant shout, and I think absolutely a shining light. Obviously, an Arthur Smith kind of player. I think we all kind of got that feeling from him when he was drafted, but certainly can't argue with that. Algier's been absolutely tremendous in CP's absence, and I think they'll probably continue to run with him, and he'll be kind of like the battering ram quarterback all the way down the field, and then they'll use CP to punch it home. And I think realistically, you've got to game manage CP now. I think with an injury like that, it's they don't want to aggravate it, and it's where he's most effective, right? So I think kudos to that point, because Algier has been outstanding for me.
I agree. He's been really good. He reminds me, in terms of the way he's approaching the game, and the fact that we took him way down in the draft. It's similar to sort of the Aaron Jones situation. I think I remember looking in terms of the actual pick. There was something obviously not in the same year, but they were taking 10 picks apart. Aaron Jones was basically taking it in the same sort of region as Tao Algier was. Tao Algier is a little bit bigger than Aaron Jones, but they're still similar-ish in terms of the way they run with the ball and the sort of the barreling style. And I think he's going to be that type of player for us. I think that's the kind of sort of ceiling of Algier, is that Aaron Jones sort of ceiling. I think that's a pretty good aim, because he's a good running back. So I think he'd be very happy with an Aaron Jones quality player for several years.
I think I was kind of thinking as I was driving home tonight about the thought process, and I think that's genuinely, and I know I fucking bitch on a guy all the time, right? But I think that's kind of like my biggest frustration, right? Is that we use the draft, the past 2 drafts, we've got Pitt, we've got London, we've got a fucking running game now, there's people around him, and I see how bad the defense is, and I go, oh, well, it's all right because we've got really good weapons, and the guy who needs to who needs to just release that ball a little bit earlier or a little bit later, or whatever, it just can't seem to execute at the right time. And there was a lot of shit flying around about that, that big throw that he made to Pitts, and Pitts lost his foot in, but all the angles I see it, I can't help but feel it's just a bit of a shit throw. Yeah. And I think next year's draft, we need and free agency as well. We need to go and show that side of the ball some love, because there's no one more than I feel sorry for on that field than Grady Jarrett, having to deal with these utter pillocks either side of him, because you know, he's the talisman of that defense, and he really deserves to be surrounded by competent players. And we've surrounded Marcus Mariota with competent players, and you know, I think that's genuinely where my frustration lies.
I think that the problem there is Dean P's interview that he literally did just before we came on air. He said he's been around a lot of defenses and he's not disappointed in this defense whatsoever, which makes sense because they're arguably, I don't want to say overachieving, but they are achieving for the quality that some of those players are. I think some of them are at the ceilings, arguably.
Yeah. They're aggressive,
which is fair enough. But
what I would say on that
is, go on, Liam,
you've got like, we're obviously talking about, certainly after games, we're talking about the defense being bad and right. So like, they have been bad and they're getting beat all over the place. But we have to, obviously, you do two of your most important players are your outside corners, and we're missing both of them. So I know it's no real excuse and the whole next men up and all that jazz, but our next men up are not very good. Right, that's just kind of where it is. But if we had those two corners in place, we maybe wouldn't be a good defense, but we would be a better defense.
Well, ideally, with those corners, it's harder for someone to get open. The quarterback has to hold the ball a little longer. You get just a split second longer with some of these rushes, these blitzes, and maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's
I think
that's exactly it all bleeds, and we don't have a lot of room for error with that stuff right now. So that's I think you're
it feels like there's been a lot more attention drawn at the fact that we can't seem we could, especially in the Chargers game, right? We couldn't seem to press the quarterback good enough, and I think
I was screaming at the television.
And I think that kind of it kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Is that if we had that to be able to make the quarterback hesitate a little bit more, and it gives the edges a bit more time to run on while the quarterback makes a decision. I mean, against Justin Herbert, again, for me, I think it was always going to be a struggle playing against the quarterback as good as he can be. I'm not going to say how good he is because I don't think he's had a great season, but and I think the injury that he had at the beginning of the season has probably stayed with him probably longer than the Chargers would have expected it to. But having our two best corners out is a real bitch. But at the same time, boys, I hate to bring this up, but you remember how we lost the first game of the season when we had our two starting corners out there? Yeah. Because we couldn't defend the pass. And, and that's not me bitching on AJ Terrell or Casey Hayward, but, that's me saying, them two being out is a loss, but we've still
lost games with them.
We've still been shit against the pass when they've been playing. And that comes down to scheme and that comes down to execution, So I'm not saying we should be bitching, and I'm not bitching on Dean Pease either, but all I'm saying is that I think, we have to kind of accept that, and listen, I appreciate him defending these players. Mads, I imagine being from the States, you played football, right? You coaches, good coaches don't bitch on their players in front of other people. But in that locker room,
sometimes they do. Harbaugh does.
That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
Go on.
I wanted
Chapman.
to ask, did you debut the new logo because you knew that the Panthers were wearing their first all-black helmets and uniforms this Thursday, just to kind of
yes,
just so you know.
I mean, you are putting a severe amount of respect on the Panthers name because nobody's thinking about those motherfuckers right now. So, it's.
Well, I thought it was just a way to take attention away from them. What little they
Did
have.
any of you see their offensive coordinator's very peculiar interview line earlier today on Twitter? No. It was interviewed about the game as per like ours was, and on playing the Falcons twice in a 12-day period, quote, "It's like putting 10 pounds of you know what in a 5-pound bag." What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
I don't know.
I literally did not get his train of thought at all. So I'm hoping
I'll tell you
the
what
heads
it
have gone
means.
and-
I'll tell you what it means. It's the small-minded mentality of somebody who works for a franchise that has been that has been in existence less than a quarter than ours has. It's divisional rivalry, right? That franchise is in the bin, right? Now I think the concerning thing is, like was mentioned earlier on, we should have lost that game last week, right? And it was only by the grace of God that we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I hate to drag back to an earlier point, but we made XFL star PJ Walker look like prime Tom Brady, right? That man got -2 fantasy points last week in their game just gone.
Yeah.
If we make this man look good again, and anyone tries to tell me that the defense is doing okay, I'm sorry, but I'm not having it. So it's I think this is our statement game.
I agree.
Me,
I'm 100% on that page, Mark. I think we're going to learn a lot about this team with how they rebound and play on Thursday, because Carolina, just because Mark, you've got some very hot opinions on their franchise in general, which I agree with in terms of their direction right now. But those are still NFL players over there, and they're going to be pissed about losing that game to division rival. So I think this will be this might be one of their Super Bowls for this year, if you will. So I think if we can go in there and, like you said, show improvement on how we handle PJ Walker, because one of the things that really frustrated me about the Dan Quinn era was we would get beat by a young quarterback, and then we would see them again, like the Tyreek Hill. Remember that last season we played. Tyreek Hill started the 6 games because Breeze was out, or however many games it was, and he beat the shit out of us twice. And it was like you learn from the first one, right? Don't make the same, So if PJ Walker comes in and scores 30 points again on us, I think that.
Well, it's funny. It's funny what you just said, though, right? Because if this is one of their Super Bowls, then my views on their franchise isn't that much of a hot take. So
if you remember, I diplomatically agreed that the direction of the franchise is going what you were saying. So
I'm just getting ready for some abuse in my DMs later on. It's fine,
I have to be the ice to your fire, man. So.
That's okay. So somebody's got to be. That's all right.
What do you guys think about the game Thursday?
I was just about to say, Danny, what's your thoughts?
I don't want to be too cocky because I have a tendency to ruin our weeks, but I'm quietly comfortable. I think that although we lost to the Chargers, it was probably down to individual errors for the most part. We played against the Panthers, and yes, we lost. Well, we won, but only by chance. I just don't think we'll echo that performance. I know we've just slated Mariota, but he has got some throws in him, so I trust that he's just going to steady the ship, and we'll do what we can. Obviously, we've got CP back, which is a huge bonus, and I don't think we've praised him enough this season, because obviously he's been out for a patch, and I think, like you said earlier, Mark, him just punching the ball in at the end will probably box us off for this week. I know we've got a few on IR. I think Hennessy's on IR and stuff, isn't he? So a little bit of a reshuffle and things like that. But I still think we've got it in us, and I don't think we're going to be sweating this week either.
Liam, what's your take?
I mean, I think we should beat them, just because I think we can run the ball well enough and hold them to limit their points, I think, well enough for a run game to move us down the field and score enough points I can't see them exploding on offense. I know they've surprised, not last game, but the game before, they sort of surprised a few people, but I don't see them doing that to us again in terms of scoring that many points. I say that now, hopefully, but I think that was a little bit of a one-off, maybe. I don't know, but I think we'll run the ball really effectively again. I think I don't see many teams being able to stop that sort of. I was going to say, two, almost like the 2-man punch, but it's a 4-man punch when you include sort of Mariota, obviously CP, and then the 2 sort of running backs that we've been riding with. So, it's hard to stop 4 guys with that much running at you. So I think we'll move the ball pretty effectively on that sense. You just got to keep it sort of tight, haven't we? There's nothing sort of silly, and I think we'll win the game. Just on the unis, although I don't tend to give many sort of props to the Panthers. Those unis are sweet. They are very nice. So at least they're going to look good while they get trounced by us.
I think somebody on Twitter said they were wearing all black to their own funeral, which was
stunning.
It'll be good.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. If we move away from how many. I don't know how many deep shots they took last week. I mean, obviously we all know about the Pitts one, but if Mark, to your point, if Arthur tries to figure out how to get that intermediate passing game going a little bit, because it just seems like on third, in those long third downs last week, and we just pass, and it was like it just wasn't there, and that was because he was saying, I saw the interview last week, where it's like they were stacking the box towards the end of the game, just daring them to throw, and then they did, and couldn't get any first downs to ice the game there with that last possession. It's just interesting if we get to see any of that working earlier on with a little more balance with that running game, and then save the running game sort of to just pack it away like we did with Cleveland. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think we need to start getting in the mentality of we've shared stats before about if he throws X amount of times a game, then we lose, and the Panthers the Panthers are there for the taking. If you with our schedule that we've got coming up, there are still some winnable games there. It actually feels like in the minute that we're actually better against the better teams, which is fucking wild. And I don't know about you lot, but I can't stand to watch Tom Brady retire with an unbeaten record against us. I can't do it.
No.
It's going to break my heart. So, or what's left of it. So I think I really want to see them come out this week and make a statement. And listen, if they do that and we lose out, right, it happens, right? And none of us, I don't know, any of us expected miracles this season. But we are whether we like it or not. And I know it's not fun, as in woo, this is amazing. But we're competitive, and we're staying competitive. And I think as much as we want to demand perfection, as we do, we're just fucking desperate to have something to be happy about, I guess. And let's face it, we're Falcons fans, right? So we'll always find something to be pissed about. But I think this week, is a little bit of an opportunity to dick on somebody. So just stop getting dicked on by PJ Walker, please, for the love of God. There's even a part of me that goes, I could even understand if it was Baker Mayfield, but fucking PJ fucking Walker, man, come on.
PJ Walker's better than Baker Mayfield, and I will not hear any other way.
Right, okay. Well, we'll agree to disagree.
Baker Mayfield is terrible.
Don't fucking tell me PJ Walker
isn't
terrible. We just made him look good.
PJ, I'll show you some XFL highlights, Mark.
How did he do this weekend, Liam? How did he do? I'll tell you how he did, because Dickhead here picked him up in fantasy because everyone else has ravaged the quarterback market, and he got me -2 points and lost me the game. So, now PJ Walker, from me, you can go fuck yourself.
It's because I sent him a quick DM just to ask for a favour this week.
just clip that and DM
me and PJ like this. But yeah, I think I saw an interest. Like Mark likes his Mariota stats. Just hard to see Marriott stats from earlier. That I think I did see that. In terms of deep balls this year, I think it was over the middle of the field on the deep balls. Mariota has a 0 passer rating this season, and 0's pretty low.
Quite low.
Yeah, he hasn't hit one over the middle of the field, which is kind of where most quarterbacks tend to like to throw in terms of deep balls, just because it's there's a little bit more room for error in terms of the position of the ball, but he actually hasn't hit one yet. Which is a little bit concerning for a quarterback, I think. I understand that, it's not an easy one to make, and we haven't got exactly the greatest deep threats, but as a quarterback, you've got to be able to do that. You've just got to be able to do. You don't have to do 5 a game. You don't have to Mahomes delivering them all over the show. You just have to get 1 or 2 good deep balls a game that surprise the defense moving down the field, and that's usually good enough. He's just got to. I don't know if it's confidence or just. I don't think it's his arms. I know I've seen him do it, but I don't know. It's really confusing situation with him at the minute.
Well,
it
continues. It continues to be confusing.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
and I think that's almost. I think that's almost why we're all a little. We're low key as Falcons fans, just a little bit fucking worried because I think we've look. How many years did we defend Matt Ryan and we said he wasn't the problem? How fucking and I'm sorry, but and we all said as soon as Indianapolis came in, we were like, holy shit, that geezer's gonna go over there and he's gonna fucking ball because he's gonna have protection. And I'm sorry, right, but the proof is in the pudding, right? And we are an awful fan base for getting romantic about quarterbacks. Right, we are,
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry.
I don't know what you mean. What do you mean?
Still love the guy, always will. But we've got another one that people are already arguing about, and he's a fucking bridge quarterback.
Well, there was a year many years ago where a certain number 7 went to jail, and we went through that year, and I went to every home game that year, and I got to watch. Matt Harrington play. The guy who's now the offensive coordinator of Tampa Bay, Brian Leftwich. I can't remember how many different. So it was a glorious time. So I'm very happy that I had 14 years of Matt Ryan. You'll never hear me spurge him now, but he just doesn't. But it was time to move on, so I think it was fine.
But you misunderstood me, right? Is that I wasn't bitching about the prime years of Matt Ryan, but towards the end, it caused fucking chaos in our family.
It caused chaos because we didn't draft well and we didn't have a good team, and he got to a point where he like Drew Brees was limited as well at the end of his career, but he had a lot of good team. He had a good team around him, a good roster, a good defense, and he had Sean Payton, who was very, very smart. We didn't have a good coach. We didn't have a good defense, and we didn't have relatively enough.
By the time that we did,
to
we got
support
the
it. Yeah, we did. Yeah, exactly. And then we let the wrong coach go. So we did.
Oh.
You telling me you went? If you had to go back now, you wouldn't fire Dan Quinn and give Kyle Shanahan in the reins?
Oh yeah,
I'd do it in a heartbeat. And I think Kyle, if he knew the future, he'd probably do. He'd be like, okay, I would have won 2 Super Bowls by now.
Well, yeah. I think that's a fair point. I mean.
Oh, you'd have to fire.
There is a trail of thought to go. Well, he's fucking sold the farm in San Francisco now. Like sold the farm, and if that don't work out, he fucking might be back in a couple of years. You never fucking know. But I think it's a fair point. I don't know. I'm still fucking bitter. Leave me alone.
Somebody put Ron Mexico on the chat. That's hilarious. I haven't thought about Ron Mexico in a very long time. I hope you guys know that story.
Tell us.
Okay, I don't know, man.
Our British audience.
And I'm going to embarrass myself. Anybody from Atlanta is listening. Basically, Mike got busted. He either got busted with weed or he got busted coming back. and he had like a little. I think this is the same incident. Anyway, when where was he? Anyway, he lied and said his name was Ron Mexico. He got in some trouble. I can't remember exactly what the trouble was. But this is right before all the things. This was like the preseason, I think, leading into that season, right before he got arrested. And he lied and said his name was Ron Mexico,
Mexico,
whatever. And then like immediately people started buying Ron Mexico jerseys on NFL.com, and they suspended it. They suspended it.
Well,
I'm going to butcher that story, but I will find it, and I will.
We know what episode 68 is going to be called.
There you go.
Good stuff.
I've made so many Falcons fans cringe by not remembering exactly what that was.
I'm sure Matt will take the honors of replying in the comments with more detail if you didn't miss anything out.
The minute I get off this podcast, I'm googling the
Wait
shit.
a second.
Oh, I just googled it. I can tell you what it was. It was okay. So he had herpes, and he didn't want people to know about it. So he would go for treatment, and he would say his name was Ron Merton. So I was totally off. So this didn't even have anything to do with when he was like flying around, and he had like one of those little shaving cans that had an open thing at the bottom. He would store his weed
in Jurassic Park.
Yes, exactly, like in Jurassic Park. He got busted with one of those too. So this was totally different. But so this was herpes medicine. So
you heard it here first, guys. Mike Vick
Matthew
done for smuggling velociraptors out of Jurassic Park. under the pseudonym of Ron Mexico.
Yeah, there you go.
So just to bring it back then. So I always like to do a little prediction, which I'm going to note down. Hopefully, we might get a screen for that at some point, and we can put it on the screen.
I believe we can now, so we just got to put some time into it.
Amazing. So, Danny, I'm going to start with you. What is your prediction?
I got a little cocky in my commentary, so I said a big win.
That's not like you.
Not at all. Never. 28-12.
Woo!
I think we're going to be that good, and they're going to be that shit.
Okay, now knobs out. Liam.
Let's go 34-17.
Woo!
That's heavy as well.
See, when Carl's not on, I don't have to ask to who. Madge, what are you saying?
I'm going to go 27-20.
Okay.
Good guys.
I like it. Well, I was going to say 27, but so I'm not now. I'm going to say 32-18.
Okay.
Because I think we win by more than one score. And I also think Algier is going to run for 120 yards this week and with one touchdown.
Love it.
See what the odds on are for that. Get on it immediately. Lovely stuff.
We need to find a betting sponsor.
We do.
Well, I think so. I think to round up there, I think we're all in a good place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Just
this guy down here going, kind of.
For Falcons fans, I don't know.
Do not sit here and defend Marcus Mariota to me and then go, oh well.
No, I mean, I think I'm interested. Okay, so the next 4 games will be really telling. We've got I forgot what the order is, but it's it's Carolina, Washington, Steelers, and Bears, correct? Chicago, some sort of.
Panthers, Bears, Commanders, Steelers in that order. So
yeah. I mean, I'd love to see us go 3-1, make a real push for the playoffs in that respect. And then, as you said, Mark, I'd love nothing more than to beat Tom Brady in his last game. It'll be in Mercedes-Benz. I also like that if we're in the playoff hunt, because then I can sell my tickets on StubHub for an exorbitant amount of money.
I would like to disappoint the entire pharmaceutical industry, because if that happens, I will never need Viagra.
Oh, lovely stuff.
So Cal, so I'm not sure if you've
quick
seen the comment that we just put on the screen, but Cal is watching at home, or wherever it is that he is. And even Cal's predicting a win. So I think hell's about to freeze over. So that's cool. So yeah, I think kind of, you know, we might have run out of charge in the fourth quarter against LA, but you know, I think we've hopefully got enough juice in the tank to make sure we keep pounding. Oh, I hate myself so much.
Good Lord.
Oh, and Matt's come in with 27-24. Another close game.
Redemption for Q.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, you know.
Oh no, it's one of them. I'm not. Yeah.
Don't think any of us has got a bad word to say about that, man.
Oh no.
No.
I mean, I probably shouted cut him after he missed it, like, or something like that. Maybe, but, you know, heat in the moment and stuff.
That's fine. I'm sure Felipe Franks could fill in.
Oh yeah,
No.
I could do anything.
Speaking of kickers, I know we were probably trying to wrap up.
It's okay.
Maurice Williams has said that he's going to try and create controlled adversity during training this week for Q, because of the anticipated poor weather. So I don't know if you've heard the potentials of what they might do. Either using Dove soap on the ball or soaking the balls in water beforehand, which I'm sure is frequently used anyway. But Dove soap specifically, stunning storyline, stunning advertisement.
I thought they were going to get like the old like wind machine out and start
That's what I thought.
Buckets of water at him with a horse.
I just had
An episode of Total Wipeout.
Yeah.
You know them things they use in the swamp to get them about.
Yeah.
I just had a feeling.
Band boats.
Yeah. I just had a feeling of him like standing in front of one of them with like his face just like that, trying to put the ball.
It'll be the Falcons version of you know, the old celebrity cyclone off Celebrity Jungle. Q's got to do the full celebrity cyclone and then kick the ball at the end. That's what it is.
That's a very British reference that you've got going on there, Liam.
Oh,
I'm sure everyone will not know what
they all get it. They all tune in. I think.
Anyone that's listening on any of the podcast streaming services as of this week, you might want to jump on to YouTube and watch the last 2 minutes, because some of the faces that were getting pulled then were exceptional. So sound doesn't cover everything, I'm afraid.
Perfect. So, is there anything else either regarding last week or this upcoming week we want to end on?
There's only one little generic thing that I want to cover that's non-Falcons related, because I was just curious of everyone's takes on it, and I was going to do the same on Twitter as well. There's been 72 games decided by 7 points or fewer so far this season, and that's the most in NFL history. Do we think this is because the league is more competitive, or has the standard dropped overall, or what's everyone's perception of why it's such a tight season?
I'll let Mads go first.
I think, I mean, this is you know, I listen to a lot of American football podcasts. Specifically, I listen to a lot of Bill Simmons, which you can laugh at or not. But I think this is just an off year of football. I think it's just like Tom Brady's not good, Aaron Rodgers not good, people aren't scoring as well. It's kind of one of those transition years when it happens. We've had some really great years, and I just think it's a weird year. Honestly, I think that's it, and I just think. I also, that's just my take. You just have these weird, you know, it's like there used to be in the 90s. We'd have these every year, be like these blowout Super Bowls, and the Super Bowl would suck, and the NFC Championship game would usually be the Super Bowl, right? And then we just like had all these great Super Bowls. So I just think it's one of those anomalies. Hopefully, so offense is down.
So I disagree slightly. So I think that what we are seeing is a bit of a transitionary year between a lot of old QBs and a lot of old coaches maybe kind of coming to the end. I think the NFL is really, really starting to change in the way that defenses are adapting to offenses. I think you're seeing it with a lot of teams at the minute, and I think the Jets are a perfect example of that. Now, don't get me wrong, the Jets have had, a humongous amount of draft picks over the past couple of years because they've, kind of sold the farm and tanked and done some good business, and now they're very much on the up. And we've just seen them beat the Bills this week, who nobody ever saw coming, by the way. And I think you've got a lot of young coaches, and I include kind of Arthur Smith in that. I don't think anyone really expected him to be able to do what he's done with the bullshit that he's got. And I think I think the NFL is starting to change, and I think and contrary to that as well, it doesn't necessarily mean just young coaches with young QBs is the difference. I think you're seeing like Baltimore, for example. You're seeing an older coach. I mean, God, I never realized Harbaugh was 60, but utilizing probably one of possibly the best mobile QB in that league right now. So I think the plane of the NFL is starting to change, and I think you're just starting to see a transition of that. And on the flip side as well, you're also starting to see some kind of maybe bigger names not live up to what they were billed. Trevor Lawrence, who we were all told was this fucking this mutant of a QB, and I was at Wembley and he's not. And it's so Doug Peterson goes out and get Calvin Ridley. I'm okay, but I just said that wind lame up. Sorry. I don't know. I'm not quite sure it's low standard. I think the competitiveness is still there, and I also think that there are quite a few teams this year who are just fucking awful. And I the one that really jumps out at me is Washington. It's Ron Rivera football, and Tyler Heineke's the QB, and apparently they're selling season tickets with like loads of marketing with Tyler Heineke's face on after Ron Rivera sat there and shouted at press for an hour. Not 3 weeks ago, telling him that Carson Wentz was his guy and it was his choice. I think it's a weird season, but I don't necessarily think it's worse. I just think we're seeing a bit of a transitionary phase.
Okay. Anything different, Liam, or pretty much echoing the same?
I think it is just similar to sort of bits of both. Really, it's a case of the teams that were dominant in sort of the recent-ish years have not quite got the overall personnel that they've had. Like, obviously Mahomes is still Mahomes, but he hasn't quite got the guys around him that he did have, like with Hill and everything. Obviously the Packers have took a drop off. Aaron Rodgers probably took a bit of drop off, but also he's not got the guys around him anymore. The Bills have, but they've been pretty consistent. Although they lost to the Jets, but they've been pretty consistent other than that. And then the other teams at the bottom end have not got, apart from the couple of teams, they've not got good enough teams to be good, but they're not. Yeah. They've got starting to get the pieces in to be not terrible. Which, like the Bears, for example, like they've got a few. Obviously, Fields is starting to get going a little bit. They've got a few pieces around that they can work with, so they're winning a few games. On the other side of it, said the teams who are supposed to be elite have lost a few pieces, so they're losing a few games. And I think that's why we're seeing the sort of a little bit more of the balance until the next sort of peak teams get their sort of rosters together, like so the Rams did, obviously, to become very good. They haven't got that anymore. So eventually, it won't be this season, but the next couple of seasons we'll probably see teams peak again, and there will be some dominant teams. But at the moment, I don't think anybody's got the roster to say we're streets above anybody else. I think that's why everybody's pretty even.
Just touching off what something one of you guys said earlier on, and I mean I don't necessarily know the answer, but I'm interested in what you think. Do we like the NFL is always like next man up, right? Do we think that potentially we've come to a phase now in the NFL where we ply so much into the stars, if you will, that the next men up just aren't as good as they have been in previous years?
I don't know. I mean, it depends. I think
It's just a thought. I was just wondering what you thought. But Mads looks like he's about to headbutt the screen, so I don't know whether
I don't know if I'm qualified because I'm just a fan. So I think there's people in the NFL media that could speak more to that. But I think the quality of athlete across the board, especially in America, just from high school to in college and all that, and how these guys, they're in pro systems early. So I don't know if I agree with that. I actually think the quality, because there's times where the NFL had like 10 good quarterbacks and everybody else didn't, and it just sucked. Right. And that was part of, and so, the quality, I think, of play on a lot. I mean, we have so many wide receivers now in the league that are just fucking awesome. Like, so, and it used to not, that is such a premium position now. So, maybe I think you might see more people focusing on some of the more glamour positions, like running back would be, for example. There used to be, obviously that position was so much more important before our pass out the offenses, and it's now, so you have less people playing that position because they go play something else. They might go play defense instead or something like that. So maybe I think, like you said, it's just the game is transitioning in some ways, but I don't know. I think the quality of athlete is actually much higher than it ever was.
Yeah. I think I wasn't necessarily the quality of athlete. I just think
the quality of play. I understand.
The caliber of talent.
I think it's a case of some of it is a case of the guys in terms of athletic ability, so they're right up there with what they actually can do. But I think certainly over what I've been comparing to when I started watching the NFL, and that was like 2008, so it's not that long ago. Obviously, there was plenty going on before that. I think certainly modern day NFL has got a lot more complex in terms of the schemes and the strategies and the tactics. I think it's a lot harder to step into it nowadays than it maybe used to be, and just pick up a scheme and run with it. And it takes players multiple games to work out what they're actually doing. Especially compared to the college game. Like Richie Grant was a prime example of it, where he was my favorite pick in that draft class, and coming out, he was great in college, and he looked pretty good this year. But everyone was slating him last year because they didn't even know what day it was, and he couldn't even get a game because he couldn't pick up the playbook and all sorts of stuff. But that's because it's a complex game nowadays, and it's a lot harder to pick up these schemes, especially on offense. You think about Kyle Shanahan's offense, for example. Obviously, like McCaffrey's picked up because he's a beast, but it'll be struggled for people to pick up some of the plays that he schemes up. I keep thinking, I watched the back, I think, what even was that? Like, there's all sorts of complexities going on. I think, how when it's next man up, how do you even learn that?
Liam, I play amateur, and my wrist coach looks like the fucking Dead Sea Scrolls. I can't find it. There's so much to learn. And like I say, I mean, I play a fucking very, very, very lesser complex version of the game, and I think that's a great point.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think unless anyone's got anything else, that's all for the week. I was just very curious as to see everybody's neutral takes on the NFL at the moment, with it being halfway through the season and it being record-breaking stats and everything. So, with that being said, Chapman, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I appreciate y'all. I mean, I got to say to the UK Falcons fans, like, it's so awesome, like, living here and having people care about this team the way you guys do. And I always tell the Atlanta people how much they should, love you guys and reach out to the fans here and love watching in London with the guys. I got if I can do one little quick personal thing, just as a
Go on.
I recently, a week ago, had a show that I executive produced, debut on Netflix. It's a kids animated show called Daniel Spellbound. If you got kids between 6 and 10, or even older kids, if you like action adventure comedy, it's a show you can find on Netflix. Daniel Spellbound. Appreciate y'all watching it. Help me and help all the people who worked on it, including the head writer is a Falcons fan. His name is Merrill Hagan. He probably follows you guys. So thank you. And thank you to the Atlanta Falcons for this awesome sweatshirt that I got at the game a couple weekends ago. There you go.
Unreal.
Yeah, so.
We will get that little segment clipped and we'll get
it indeed. And I will watch the show myself, and I don't have kids, so.
Well, hopefully you'll think it's a fun show, man. So hopefully it appeals to everybody. But thank you guys. Appreciate you having me on.
That, mate. Thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure as always, mate. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And of course, thank you to everyone that's watched live. You may have noticed today it's live across Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter for a change. So we're getting out there a little bit, and this will be going live as a podcast either tonight or the morning, depending on how long it takes to upload. Admittedly, because I didn't really consider it, this probably hasn't been very pod friendly. There's a lot of sound effects and there was a lot of pointing and stuff like that. And I know you can't all see it, but we will work on that. We will we'll improve on that. But we appreciate the support, whatever you're watching or listening on. So thank you all very much. Hopefully we get that win on Thursday Night Football, and we will catch you all whatever day next week we can get in. Probably Tuesday again. It's working at the minute. Yeah. So thank you all, and catch you soon.
Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, bye.